Glad you're here today. My question is, do you have any problems determining what our word is today? If you said gasoline, you were absolutely right. Because I'm sure that's a word that's been on your mind for several weeks or a month and a half. We want to talk about these gasoline prices that are overwhelming us and some of the things that we can do to offset these costs, but to also talk about the things we don't need to do, or at least one particular thing that we need not to do. Here in Michigan, as of June 22nd, the average gas prices was $5.10 for regular, okay? $5.40 for 89 or mid-grade, $5.83 for premium, and $5.95 for diesel. Let's put that in some perspective. If you have a car that has a 20-gallon tank, just for regular, you're going to spend about $108 to fill up. Let's see if we can put that in some kind of perspective. $108 to fill up your tank. Literally, some people are driving to work just to pay gas. $108 to fill up on regular. So depending on how far you drive to work, you could be spending anywhere from $15 to $20 a day just to get to work. How in the world do we function with that type of inflation? The dollar, the value of the dollar has decreased to the point that is frightening. So there are some things we can do to offset this. And I want to say this in a way because this is not really something that I want you to just contemplate. I want you to pay attention because there are some things you need to do to get through this. And there's one thing that we need to stop doing. So some of the things that we can do to offset this, because you got to have gas to go to work. You got to have gas for your vehicles. Isn't it possible that we can adjust how we do things? Do you still have to get the $5 lattes every day? Can you learn how to be creative with leftovers? Can you not go out to dinner twice a month? That might cost you $75, $80 for both of them. Can you not do some things that you do for recreation and simply become more creative to make your dollar more effective? Because here's my problem. The one thing that we always do when trouble comes, we punish God. We punish God in our giving. We punish God in his work. And the truth of the matter is, that's one of the reasons that we struggle through these tough times, is that we always want to make God adjust as it relates to our giving to his work through the church. That's a big mistake. The very God that we're asking to adjust is the God that's going to get us through this. We need to make some adjustments as it relates to the things we desire and the things we want. There are some things we can do. Many of you are offsetting this inflation by simply putting all of the gas prices on your credit card. Well, what happens when this ends? Now you're going to pay the credit card. Now you've got to pay it off. What about adjusting in the things that aren't crucial, that aren't really that important? What about asking God to allow you to be more creative in this time of struggle? And don't just punish God by not giving to your local church. Just because we're going through inflation, it has nothing to do with people suffering. People still need to be helped. The church still needs to function. But the first thing we want to do is, well, God doesn't need it. No, God's work does. And there are ways that you can be blessed through this thing by trusting God with something that's so valuable to you, which is our money. Just so you don't lose sight of how good God is, God can be very creative in helping us understand some of the things that we can do in a very practical way. Because when you look at the price of food, it's kind of difficult to go to the market and you spend $100 and it looks like you came home with about $55 or $60 worth of goods. What do you do with that? How do we get through that? One of the things that we can do is you don't have to always buy the top brand name foods. Okay, sometimes we just simply have to make adjustments based on the situation. So you don't always have to get the best of everything. Okay, it doesn't always have to be premium crackers. Sometimes it might simply need to be the brand name cracker that you only use so often in the first place. It's little ways and little things that we can do that helps us in terms of being forthright in a tough time. You ever thought about not going on a long vacation and not going on a vacation that you plan? I like the word that someone used. He says, how about a staycation instead of a vacation? All right. Now, what does that cause us to do? It causes us to be creative. But it can also cause you to pray to God to help you be creative in this tough time. You're going to have to do some things. And we're going to talk about how do you plan your daily trips, whether you're going to work or whatever, to get as much out of your day as possible so when you do come home, you're done. Now, here's the dangerous part. Here's the part I want you to really get, because it will make you justify spending freely in the tough times. Because of the pandemic and all the things that we've been through for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, so many of you feel, look, I've been home for 2 summers. Hey, I deserve this. I want to go. I don't care about the cost. Well, yes, we have gone through some tough times with the pandemic. There are people that we haven't seen, places we wanted to go, but you've got to stop and think this thing through. Just because you haven't been anywhere will not justify the fact that you totally overspend in a time that's not only going to be costly now, it's going to cost you later when the inflation is not as high. So even though you feel like you deserve this, how about putting back a few dollars, sacrificing now for when the inflation is not nearly as bad down the road, you can go to a better place or more places because you thought this thing through and became more creative. And on an everyday basis, I kind of close with this. On an everyday basis, how about planning all of your stops in that one day? How about getting as much done while you're out, while you're fighting traffic, while you have to go in the first place? So if you're going to go to a location, see where the next closest location that will satisfy your needs, see where that is, and deal with it then, as opposed to coming back home and traveling those same miles to go to another place that was only a mile away from your former destination. The reason I'm saying all of this, if you will at least try to be more creative, it will allow you not to punish God in your giving. Because the first thing we do is we hold back from God, and that's the one who's going to deliver you through this. You may not like it. You may not agree with it, but I know it's biblical. Quit withholding from God the one you need the most to get through these troubled times. How about you being more creative, do some more sacrificial giving to God, and then see how he blesses you? This is one of those times I'm not going to ask you to think about it. This is something you absolutely need to do.